Hey guys, this is Lala Legacy and welcome back to another episode of Symphonic Rain. So before we jump in, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button because that would mean the whole world to me. And after this video, if you liked it, hit that like button as well. Alright, let's get into this. Well then, what shall I do now? Oopsie. My bad. Okay, we are gonna go to the old school building. I learned yesterday that Lise wouldn't come to the school or to the music room in the old school building. I didn't really feel like practicing today, and I'd be lying if I said the aforementioned didn't contribute to that. There shouldn't have been any reason for me to be so interested in a girl I had only met 3 times. Still, I was thinking of her once again as I secretly lamented the fact that we couldn't perform an ensemble together. Yo, Chris! I was aimlessly wandering through the corridor when I heard my name being called from behind me. Asino, what are you doing here? Don't you have your lesson from Miss Cordell now? I do, but I wanted to clear up something first. Didn't you come here for the same reason? Clear up something? And I came here because of that? Looking around, I spotted a crowd a little further into the hallway. After entering the secondary building and turning the first corner, you came across a wall with bulletin boards containing notices for each respective department. Most of the students were standing around the bulletin board designated for the foretell department. Is something posted up there? Yeah, info about the special foretell lectures. I see, but that's nothing out of the ordinary, is it? Besides, is it really something you'd participate in? It's a special case this time. You really are oblivious, aren't you? Well, sue me. Anyway, how is it a special case? The lecturer is the head of the Cesarini family. I hear he assembles a group of senior foretell students once a year to give special lectures. Huh, you don't say. I'm just making sure, but you know the significance of the name Cesarini, right? Never heard of the guy. Well, I assume it's an amazing person, right? Yeah. Asino wasn't merely surprised, he was utterly dumbfounded. But this was a common occurrence, so I continued as though nothing was wrong. Since he's called the family head, I take it he's a nobleman? What's more, the family is famous in the Foretell Society. In other words, if you catch the eye of that lecturer, a great career might be in store for you. Wow. Not interested, huh? Not particularly. Well, that's just like you. I'm going to participate, though. Good luck. Some friend you are. Well, if you change your mind and decide to participate, let me know. I honestly don't feel too comfortable going alone. I feel like it, if I feel like it, I will. Anyway, it can't hurt to at least check out the board, right? Okay. I wasn't all that interested, but since a cursory glance wouldn't hurt, I followed Asino to the bulletin board. It said that there would be 2 lectures, one on Thursday next week, and one the week after that. It started at noon, and there would be 5 participants. It also said that in the event of an abundance of applicants, participants would be selected through careful examination. 5 people isn't a lot. I had heard it was strict, but to this extent, I never would have thought. Are you still going to try? I guess, if I can get approved here. Asino glanced at the bulletin board with an unusually serious expression on his face. You will be settled for life? Yeah, that's right. We got the necessary information. Asino set off for the main building. I followed him in that direction as well for no particular reason. And then... I turned around while thinking, I'm getting talked to a lot today. Ah, Lise. You know her, Chris. Yes, hello. Hello. Asino was watching us with great interest. It wasn't like we had a relationship to be suspicious about, but I still felt a little embarrassed. Is something the matter? Well, as usual, Lise faltered as she was trying to tell me something. She must have had something important to say if she would actually call out to me like that. What's more, Asino, a complete stranger to Lise, was even standing next to me. You were looking at the bulletin board just now, weren't you? Yeah, that's right. Are you going to participate? Was that what she wanted to know? No, I'm not planning to. Why do you ask? Oh, never mind then. I was just wondering. Really? Excuse me. Leaving it at that, Lise hurried off again as always. She didn't run this time though, probably because there were people around. Asino, who had been silently listening in on us, now spoke up. What was that just now? Who knows? Who was that? Her name is Lise. She's a freshman of the vocal department. I met her recently. How unusual for you to meet girls. I think so too. Is she going to be your partner? Nah, that's not my intent. Huh, so instead of searching for a partner, you've been fooling around with girls. It's not like that. Anyway, why would she ask me something like that? How should I know? I guess she might have been worried about you. Worried? The lecture is supposedly strict. I don't know the specific details, but there've been girls seen running out of his lectures, crying their eyes out. But why would Lise know about that? Like I said, how should I know? Isn't she your acquaintance? Well, sure, but it's not like we've actually talked a lot. What a weirdo. It's really rude to say such things about people you don't know, Asino. I was talking about you. Asino laughed, then suddenly glanced at his watch. Crap, I don't have time for this. Right, Miss Cordell will scold you if you don't arrive 5 minutes beforehand. Do consider taking that lecture, okay? Yeah, I'll consider it. Asino flashed a ridiculing sneer before hurrying off toward the secondary building. As I watched him leave, I pondered what to do today. If I went home now, it would prove to Forney that I'd been neglecting to practice, and she would get mad. Since Lise said she wouldn't be at the old school building today, I decided to play a bit in a practice room before going home. I headed toward the practice room at the far end of the long hallway, the location Fal and I had agreed on. Thinking back, I could count the number of times I'd played together with people I'd only just met on one hand. With a prick of nervousness in my chest, I peeked inside through the small door window and spotted her facing away from me. I wondered at first how to call out to her if she was singing, but she didn't appear to be. Instead, she was sitting facing the piano, seemingly reading a score. Due to the soundproof equipment, it was unlikely that she would notice that knock. Still, I casually struck the door before entering just to be sure. Excuse me. Ah, Chris, good afternoon. She pulled back the piano bench and turned to look at me. I'm so glad you came. My apologies for not coming on Tuesday. I had some things to do. Oh, please do not concern yourself with that. I couldn't meet you last week for similar reasons after all. She gave me a sincere smile. It appeared she didn't mind in the slightest. In that case, I'm glad. As I lowered my bag from my shoulder, wondering how to advance the conversation, Val went straight to the point. It is a bit abrupt, but let us start right away. Since this is the first time, any piece would be agreeable, but if possible, it might be most efficient to perform our actual graduation pieces. Indeed. Chris, I do believe you compose your own pieces, yes? Yes. Does the vocal department equally necessitate self-composure of pieces? Did that come out right? Are you not used to speaking formally? Not really. Is it that obvious? Well, that sentence did not sound very natural. You are speaking that way like it is the most natural thing in the world, though. How about I drop the formalities as well then? Huh? We're in the same year after all, she said roguishly, striking home the fact that she was actually my age. It'd be weird talking so stiffly to each other when we're partners, hypothetically speaking, of course. Her conscientious choice of words never felt out of place at all. She'd probably been talking this way on a regular basis throughout her life. On the other hand, speaking like a regular girl seems to come naturally to her too. You're right. Then let's just talk normally. If it's okay with you, let's. Okay. Having somehow arrived at a mutual agreement, we returned back on topic. Anyway, I have my own song as well. I composed it to be accompanied by a foretell, so we should be okay on that front. For a foretell? If possible, I wanted to pair with a foretellist, but don't worry, I have a song prepared to perform solo. I was somewhat awestruck by her meticulous preparation. It was in sharp contrast with my own approach to music. Though since she was the one who offered to play with me, I probably shouldn't worry too much about that right now. I don't know what kind of piece you have, but we'll have to decide on one first. You are correct. You're right. We had only just decided to be casual, yet I was fumbling with words again. I'd rarely ever spoken to girls besides Torta and Ari, and it showed. If you have difficulties with it, just talk to me whichever way you want. Val open-heartedly reassured me. Although I hadn't decided whether to partner with her yet, I thought I should take the possibility into account and just talk to her casually. Nah, I'll talk normally, don't worry. Well, if it's not like you have to force yourself. Oh well, anyway, which piece to do? Can I give you my input on that? Go ahead. Until now, I'd been mindlessly drilling my current piece. It wasn't like I didn't put my heart into composing it, just that it wasn't a piece composed with a particular vocalist in mind. If I had to point out someone, it was probably Ari. Her singing was almost laughably bad though, so I obviously hadn't been picturing her singing it in my mind when I made it. No, it was a piece I composed reminiscing about her whenever I read her letters. The piece I've composed might not suit you very well. What do you mean? I made it on the premise of a different person singing it, so the range might not match your voice, for instance. Oh, I see. It was probably okay to lie about this. The piece likely wouldn't have met her standards. So, how about going with yours? I don't particularly mind. She went silent for a moment. She then searchingly looked into my eyes and produced a smile. I see. Then let's do so. Okay. Good. This means my transcribing of the score hasn't been for naught. I was relieved she didn't press me for details, and then I came to the realization that I had completely forgotten to copy my score beforehand. You already transcribed it? I'd completely forgotten about that. Really? Then I guess it worked out perfectly, she said, taking out a score from her bag in the meantime. Here, I kinda rushed it, so it might be a bit crude. It only took a quick glance over to see that she was just being modest. The notes and symbols were elegantly drawn, and terms were abbreviated, giving the impression she was experienced with score writing. It didn't look crude at all. On the contrary, I thought it was really well done. You call this crude? To me it is. But more importantly, what do you think of the piece? Fell inquired playfully. I imagined the melody and lowered myself on the bench in front of the foretell. What do you think? One sec. I traced my fingers along the keyboard while progressing through the score. Chris, are you good at sight reading? Oh, I could do it, I suppose. Then, want to try right away? Anytime you're ready. Sure, let's do it. Okay. Oh boy, here we go. shoot. I messed up. Okay, well, at least I did it. Nice job. It sounded amazing considering it was our first time. Really? Your foretel's sound was just as I'd imagined it to be. It was nothing special. No need to be bashful. She seemed quite ecstatic about it. After peeking at the score in front of me, she continued. I only have a few minor complaints, like at this spot. It seemed you were a little too late. Her face was suddenly really close as she pointed at a certain spot on the score sheet. She was at a range where I could practically feel her breath. Her eyes never actually went to where she was pointing at, but remained fixed on mine. I'm sorry. That's okay. Anyways, that's about the only issue I could find. We'll obviously have to practice it a bit, but it's an amazing start. She awkwardly stepped away from me, acting calm and composed, yet her face turned a shade of red. It made my heart ache a little. Her facial expression was exactly like one Ari had shown me once. It wasn't like I'd grown to be that self-conscious. Just that Fal's expression was enough for me to be strongly reminded of her. I appreciate you saying that. But it's the truth. I changed the subject to avoid touching on what had just happened. Fal seemed relieved at this as well. Thanks. I'll keep those points in mind. Want to try again? Sure. We still have until school is over. Right. The awkward atmosphere quickly settled down. We both turned back to our scores and resumed practicing. Whew. Today's practice session ended with us both letting out deep breaths. It'd been long since I'd performed with anyone other than Forney, and a piece other than my usual. No less, which perhaps explained why I enjoyed myself so much. Although I couldn't look outside, a cursory glance at the clock on the wall told me it had pretty much become evening. Time passes quickly when you're absorbed in practice, doesn't it? It was still a little while before the institute would close completely, but some instructor on duty might come around soon. We hurriedly began cleaning up. What should I do with the score? Oh, take it with you. I don't intend to practice with anyone besides you right now, and if I do, I'll just transcribe it again. Is transcribing really such a trivial task? I idly wondered, thinking back on when I had to transcribe several famous pieces in class once. I'm used to it. Besides, I kinda like doing it, she said casually, even producing a smile in apparent delight. I see. I was genuinely impressed by that, and then felt a bit ashamed about my own slacking. I had yet to decide on a partner for my compulsory graduation recital, and hadn't even prepared a score for said undecided person. Face to face with someone like Val, who puts earnest effort into everything, my flaws were blatantly exposed. You're such a hard worker. That's not true. Val smiled happily, then lifted up her bag, indicating she had finished packing up. At the sight, I quickly shoved the score into my bag, and we both went outside. Glancing out the window, I noticed the rain was pretty calm. Are you going home now, Val? Sorry. While I'd like to walk home with you, that won't be possible today. I see. What a pity. Actually, we weren't close enough for me to feel that way. In fact, her saying that she would have liked to walk home with me seemed dubious in itself. I'm going home now. Okay. Oh, before you go, I'd like to ask you something. What is it? What are your thoughts on today? Thoughts? Like, what did you think of my song and such? Well, I think I told you before, but I thought it was great. Really? Thanks. I really liked your forte playing as well. I see. Thanks. Before I knew it, my initial discomfort at the thought of performing with a stranger had all but dissipated. It was no doubt all thanks to her constantly putting me at ease. Although we'd only spent a short while together, I doubted there were many people who wouldn't come to admire a girl so diligent about everything she did. Being no exception to that, I naturally returned her smile and asked her about what to do next. So, what shall we do from now on? I suppose you'd like some more time before deciding on a partner? Yeah. In that case, I'm always here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you have time, let's practice again. I can't guarantee anything, though. Of course, I don't mind. Okay, so I should meet you at the same time as today for our next meeting? Yes, let's stick with the same place, too. If the room is taken, I'll just be in the next. Just peek in through the window. I'll do that. I thought I'd take some time to decide what to do from now on. Taking the time to expand my alternatives was important right now. What will you do now? I have some business to attend in the main building. Then I'll see you off at the front door. As she stood in front of the building, Val glanced upward at the sky. I don't have an umbrella with me today. The rain's gotten pretty light, so we should be fine. Right, see you later then. Yeah, see ya. After spending a minute staring at Val's retreating figure as she rhythmically walked into the distance, I set out for the City of Rain. Like I mentioned to Val, the rain was weak. My uniform, which would normally get drenched and coil around my skin, didn't even feel all that unpleasant now. Perhaps because of that, I didn't feel inclined to increase my pace, and leisurely walked home amidst the rain. The 9th of December. As I contemplated what to do today while eating my lunch, Torta asked me a question as though to affirm something. Chris, are you free on Sunday? I don't believe I have plans, why? Granny's been mumbling about you not showing up lately. She didn't explicitly tell me to ask you to visit, but don't you think it's about time you did? Oh, Nina, huh? Come to think of it, it's been a while since I last visited. You haven't been visiting at all. You just show up a few times a year. She's been worried about you. I see. Last time was during summer, I believe. Exactly! Nina is Torta's grandmother. She's been looking after me since I was a little boy. In the past, she used to live in Ari and Torta's family home. When we were about 10 years old, she suddenly told us she was going to move to Piova and left on her own. A dilet- dilettante to the bone? She strongly insisted on spending her remaining years here to satisfy her love for music. The twins' parents caved in quickly to her steadfastness. And now she's letting Torta live in a room on the second floor of her house. Thinking about it now, that might have just been her aim from the start. So, will you come? Well, in that case, sure. Great. I'm sure it'll make Granny happy. I should probably bring my foretell. You'd better. Playing the foretell is like showing your face to her. I've done nothing but practice lately, although I suppose I have no choice. What? If it's really such a bother to you, perhaps you'd better not bring it after all. Never mind. Sorry, I didn't mean it like that. It's just that I'm a little tired. I know, you can't conceal your embarrassment unless you put up that attitude. That's not really true either. Yes, it is. Anyway, you'll meet me at my house with your foretell, okay? What time suits you? In the afternoon, I guess. I figure we'll need about 3 hours for a performance. What about lunch? Won't you come have it with us? I shouldn't intrude that much. Neither I nor Granny would mind. Still, I'd rather not. I'll come over at 3 o'clock. Oh well, but you'll at least join us for dinner, won't you? I'm sure Granny will be glad if you do. Then I suppose I'll take you up on that offer. Okay, see you Sunday then. After having made that promise, Torta left for the practice rooms. Well then, what shall I do now? We are gonna go to not the cafeteria, the practice room. I decided not to meet anyone today and simply practice on my own, so that when I did meet someone, I could put on an even better performance. That was sort of my reasoning. I should decide first whether to play some piece from start to finish or just practice tidbits here and there. It doesn't matter if I practice or don't, so I'm gonna practice just because it's a little bit more gameplay. Which piece should I practice? LISE'S piece, of course. Shit. shoot. Okay, I did it! Ugh. Whew. Let's call it a day. I could judge the quality of that performance best myself. Repetition was fundamental to practice. Still, while habituation was necessary, playing with others and getting used to the tension from playing for an audience was also pretty important. But it was common to practice on one's own whenever it deemed necessary. As such, I might come here more often in the future. Time to go. It was getting late. After cleaning up the practice room, I went home. All right, here we go. I intended to spend my Saturday afternoon the same way I always did. It was a bit shy of 10 o'clock in the morning. I thought it'd be a waste to get up at the same time I usually do or when I have school. My ensemble with Forney was planned for tomorrow, but since I had to go to Nina's place, I'd rather get it out of the way now. With that thought in mind, I looked around my room, thinking of asking Forney, but she'd said good morning to me just now, but she probably figured I was going to be lazing around like usual and disappeared. She'd likely reveal herself if I summoned her, but there was no reason to go to such lengths. I thought about reading a book, but soon gave up on that as well. Conclusively, I decided to sit down behind my fortel. When I was selecting a score to play, the first thing that came to mind was the song that Lise had been singing. Even though we technically performed an ensemble, it was only once, and there was a wall between us. She said she wouldn't be able to come again this week, but since there was no point in wasting time at home, I decided to take my chances and packed up my fortel. I finished preparing to leave and said to Forney, "I'm going out for a bit." Shopping? Take care! Wait, what? I'm off. I left the fairy behind as she watched over my uniform-clad self. It was extremely rare for me to go to school on a day off. All I could think about was performing a proper ensemble with her. I won't be able to come this week. I hadn't forgotten Lise's warning, but by this week, she might have meant until Friday. Anyway, whether she'd show up or not, it wasn't like I had anything better to do. I strained my ears for a bit, wondering if I could hear Lise's voice. She might not be here today. Despite coming this far, I considered leaving right away. But then again, it wouldn't hurt to go inside and practice for a bit. It was really just an excuse, namely to convince myself that I hadn't come here especially for Lise. As I strolled through the corridor leading to the music room, Lise's voice intermittently came into hearing. Perhaps she had been taking a break up until now. Either way, I quickly made my way to the room. However, by the time I arrived, she had stopped again, and the old school building was basked in silence once more. The door to Lise's music room was open. I'd warned her that people might walk in on her if she did that. Had she already forgotten? "I suppose he won't come," Lise muttered to herself, then played some notes on the piano, apparently bored. "Of course he won't." The first time I saw her here, I could tell she was enjoying singing, but she seemed somewhat apathetic now. And then there were her words. Who was she waiting for? Intending to start singing again, she stepped away from the piano and swiftly turned around. Hello? Senpai! Sorry, I didn't mean to peep. It's just that the door was open. That's okay. My words were almost identical to what I had said the first time we met. But this time, Lise had a complicated expression. Was she just embarrassed, or... But, why did you come here? I was thinking of practicing for a while. I see. You too? Yes. I see. Good luck. Yes. I had wanted to walk out right away and transfer to the music room next door. However, when I saw Lise's face darken, I felt like pushing my luck. The muttering I heard earlier and how she left the door open. Her sudden change of expression as I was about to leave the room. I decided to interpret all of these details in my favor. Oh, hey, if it's okay with you, how about we perform an ensemble? That piece you've been singing. I don't know what it is, but I like it a lot. I'd love to play it accompanied by a singer. Well, if you don't want to, then it's fine. Yes? Can I? Huh? Can I sing? What do you mean? No, what I mean is it okay if I sing with you? Well, yes, I asked because I want to perform together with you, Lise. Really? Yeah. Fidgeting nervously, Lise averted her eyes and then panicked when she realized she did that. Her facial expressions changed sporadically. I wasn't sure what she was so fussed about, but I patiently waited for her to acknowledge my request. Yes? Will you allow me to sing with you? Of course, it would be my pleasure. Then let's do our best. Lise politely bowed, then started looking around in confusion, as if she were wondering what she should do. What's wrong? I asked as I set up my foretell. What should I do now? What do you mean? If you could sing... No, I mean, right now, like, preparation? You didn't bring a score, did you? In that case, just wait for a bit. I'll be done in a moment. I see. There's no need to rush. Actually, I'm already done, so what now? Would you like to start right away, or would you rather do some vocal exercises first? Oh, I already did that, so, shall we begin? Got it. Then let's start from the top. Yes! Oh, she's so cute! We actually get to hear her singing with us now. Ah. Even after she'd finished singing, Lisa kept her eyes closed until the final note of my foretell had dissipated. She almost seemed to be meditating. When she opened her eyes, she looked fulfilled. Um, good job! Yeah, same to you. Several hours had gone by in a flash. During that time, we'd been performing without a moment of pause. Although we only just started, I had to roll around my shoulders a bit to loosen up my worn-out body. Chris-senpai. Lise. We called each other almost simultaneously, after which Lise signaled I could go first. I was just wondering how long you'll be here. Oh, I wanted to ask you the same thing. Really? I wanted to practice until the evening. Ah, I see. Then I will stay until then as well. Then, would you like to continue our ensemble until the time comes? Yes! I felt that my foretell and her voice were remarkably compatible. Of course, this was nothing but a feeling, so it was difficult to rationalize. Maybe I was just having fun, or perhaps there was some deeper meaning to it. In any case, it was a lot more enjoyable now as opposed to when we had that wall between us. The fact that I could see her face as she was singing was an important factor. She looked just as blissful as the first time I spotted her. Well then, one more time. Having said that, I noticed that I was hungry. I had omitted breakfast as usual. But before that, are you hungry? No, are you? Kind of. I didn't have breakfast this morning. What about you? Don't you normally have lunch? Well, I don't have lunch often. I suppose you're fine as long as you have a proper breakfast, huh? No, I don't eat breakfast often either. Then I take it you eat a sizable dinner? Dinner? Just a normal amount, I think. Light eater? That might be the case. I see. I don't eat much or that much either, but I do get hungry around proper meal times. Then don't mind me, go ahead. I'm just going to the cafeteria to eat though. Wanna go together? It might be tough to carry on until night with an empty stomach. I'd rather not. Lise's expression turned grim instantaneously. It seemed as though she had reacted to the word cafeteria. Come to think of it, she mentioned that she didn't like crowds before. Then, should I go buy something for you? Huh? Wait here for a sec. I should be able to buy some bread from the cafeteria. But, it's okay. Leaving behind the bewildered girl, I headed back toward the secondary building. The school cafeteria was open as per the norm on Saturdays and Sundays. It went to show how many students came to the institute to practice even on days off. Naturally, this would be my first time in the cafeteria on a weekend. When I called out to one of the cafeteria workers, it turned out they didn't sell any bread on weekends. Though I never used the service before, normally they sold baked bread with a variety of different fillings near the entrance. It was probably there so the students could take the food and eat outside, but apparently they didn't sell anything on days off. What should I do? I decided to abandon the idea of bringing Lisa here. Maybe I could bring some plates with me, under the condition that I would come back to return them later. As I browsed through the menus, something which I rarely did, I wondered what I should pick. Suddenly, someone called out to me from behind the counter. It was the cafeteria cashier lady. She was a familiar face to me. No surprises there. I have been coming here for 3 years, so I've seen her more often than even my classmates, who I rarely saw anymore now that we were seniors. What's the matter? I was thinking of eating outside today. How rare of you to come on a Saturday. Hold on a second. Excuse me? Without bothering to wait for my reply, the lady immediately disappeared into the kitchen. Upon her return, she handed me a basket. What's this? My lunch, as a thank you for your usual patronage. No need to pay, just return the basket later. Oh, but I could never accept that. It's okay, I'm impressed that you came to practice on a day off. Thank you. Sorry if you got your hopes up, but it's really nothing special. Anyway, you're obstructing the line. Excuse me. Glancing over my shoulder, there was only a single student behind me looking over the menu. I wanted to say something, but the lady had already gone back inside. There was a bell at the register, so I could call her back if I wanted. However, I decided to accept her kindness and save any further words of gratitude for the next occasion. The fact that this was only a single woman's lunch had me worried a bit. However, upon inspection, it seemed there was plenty for the two of us, as expected from a woman of ample physique. Sorry for the wait. Welcome back. Without further ado, I pulled up a desk in front of the bench where my foretell was located and prepared lunch. I said to Lise, who was watching me from a distance, "There's a lot in here, so do you want something?" No thanks. You didn't eat this morning, did you?" "No." "Then I think you should eat something now." This was the kind of concern that was usually directed at me. I laughed unintentionally at the irony. What's the matter?" "Nothing. It's just that usually people tend to say such things to me. Nonetheless, even I can't omit 2 meals in one day." I see. Then I suppose I will have a little bit." "Great. I was getting kind of worried about what to do with all of this, since it's way too much food for me to eat alone." I opened the basket and showed it to Lise. It was filled with plain tomato and cheese sandwiches. What I had just told Lise was no exaggeration, as there was quite a number of them. "Wow, did you buy so many?" "Well, you see," I casually explained to her what had happened. "I see. What a nice lady." For a moment, Lise looked at me with apparent envy. "What's wrong?" It seems you are well liked around here." I think it was just a unusual sight for her. The thing is, I have never came to school on a day off before. Huh? Anyway, let's dig in. If she asked me for the reason why I came today of all days, I didn't think I'd be able to answer with a straight face. I just wanted to perform an ensemble with you. Sure, that was the truth, but when put into words like that, it's kind of an embarrassing thing to admit to. Sit down over here. Or over there. When I pointed at the chair I'd prepared for her next to my foretell, Lise shook her head in bewilderment. Right here is fine for me." Lise was sitting a short distance away from the piano. Before, she was standing there. It was a good distance for singing, but a little awkward for having lunch together. "Really? Well, I don't mind either way." I took out one of the sandwiches and handed it to Lise. After accepting it, she scurried back to the piano and sat down. She then brought the sandwich to her lips. But that is all the time that I have for this episode, guys. So, if you liked it, hit that like button down below and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I love you guys so much, and I will see you next time. Bye!